This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIKs. Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoya here on a Friday from the Soonerscoop.com studios. A lot of basketball to get into. Welcome back to Around the Quarter, taking some of your questions from the Crimson Quarter and, putting a little bit of a, not a spin on it, but help me out, George. Some type of comment. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll highlight some people.
Yeah, we got to highlight some people. You and I were out at women's basketball today, a little media day, some shoot-around hoops, and the men obviously tipping off here in a few hours.
Yeah, it's a big day around these parts, obviously, and be over at baseball tonight, opening up the 3-game series against Mississippi State, the softball team up in Columbia, Missouri. Before we get to a little bit of what Jenny Baranczyk and Reagan Beers and Peyton Verhulst had to say, let us tell you about our good friends over at Roback, RHOBACK.com. And George, I know that you have your hoodie on today, looking good.
Yeah, I wear this thing almost every day now. I have two of these.
Well, do you clean it? You probably need to
I do clean it. I do clean it. I do wash it. But yeah, I really enjoy wearing it. You know, you can wear it wherever. I have a lot of their polos. I know I'm going to wear their polo to the women's basketball game tomorrow.
Very good. The everyday shorts, I still need to get my own pair. But if you're looking to get your own pair or your own pullover or polo, anything really, the Delta Performance Plants, I love Roback. All you got to do is use the code as you see on the screen here, Sooner20 at Roback.com, RHOBACK.com, and get 20% off. Thank you to our good friends over at Roback as we roll into, as we said, a lot of basketball. NCAA tournament underway on Thursday. It was fantastic. Wouldn't say it was great, but it was moderately good. I thought it was some pretty good games, especially on Thursday night.
Yeah, the best games I thought were saved for last yesterday. So hopefully there's some more good games today. I know Mississippi State Baylor was a close game. You were very dialed into.
Well, I love the SEC, and I wanted to see us do well.
Yeah, it is funny.
And they didn't. And they didn't. They're now 4-5 in the SEC tournament.
I did mention to you
the NCAA tournament
earlier today, though, that it is funny. I find myself rooting for the SEC teams.
I know, but I still have this affinity for all the Big 12 teams, and I want them to do well outside of Kansas. Too bad your season's over. Oklahoma's playing basketball longer than Kansas. Fact. All right. We will get into some of what Jenny Baranczyk had to say, but you were over there earlier today, and they have the home court advantage over the Lloyd Noble Center. Tip-off at 1:30 on Saturday. The first game out of the gate is Iowa and Murray State, but we were able to take in a little bit of the shoot-around as well. Any thoughts, concerns, criticisms for Oklahoma going into the opener of the NCAA tournament on Saturday?
No, I mean, it sounds like OU feels very confident. They're excited, obviously getting to host a regional. You know, I was talking to some OU folks today, and it certainly sounds like, they're expecting to have close to a sold-out arena.
That's awesome.
So that'll be great. And Peyton Verhulst and Reagan Beers kind of talked about how much that can kind of help them and give them a boost. And Jenny Baranczyk, we've heard a lot from her about that too. But it's good to hear from them about that. And then also just kind of the matchup with Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, this is a team a year ago that played it close with Oklahoma in the first round. Same team. They played in Bloomington at Indiana, and OU fell behind, I think, by like 10 at halftime. Had to come from behind and beat them. I think they ended up winning like 73-70 a year ago. So, Florida Gulf Coast is no easy task.
And as we talked about, I think a little bit on the Hoops Report before Bob headed out to Raleigh, was just the fact that this team is a very similar team to Oklahoma in terms of they like to get a lot of threes up. I think they've made over 300 threes over the last 15 years at Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy to think about. Led by Chelsea Lyles. Her first year in, at Florida Gulf Coast. But at the same time, she was on the staff, got promoted. She's been there, I think, for like 20 years or something.
Yeah, and she is she's very well known in the coaching ranks. I know Jenny Baranczyk kind of spoke about her a little bit earlier this week and just kind of how much respect she has for her. But this is a team that's going to play 5 out. They're going to run the floor. They don't play a post player very much, similar to what OU did really a year ago. Now that OU does have a post player like a Reagan Beers, it's going to be an interesting matchup because it is similar to last year's game.
Sure,
but there's going to be some different elements to it with Reagan Beers being in the mix.
As George said, it is it's something that hasn't been done here in a second. I guess 2 years ago.
2013.
But just, in terms of hosting.
I thought you were talking about Sweet 16.
They haven't been able to do that, and it seems like this is kind of that final hurdle for them.
Yep.
We talked to Jenny Baranczyk as well as Reagan Beers and Peyton Verhulst talking about the home court advantage that they'll have on Saturday.
I think I'm excited to see the fan base period here. I know Murray State will travel some, Florida Gulf Coast will travel some. This is a big deal. This is a big regional, and it's one that people can travel to. And we have been talking so much from a national perspective on the sport of women's basketball and how much attention has been there. And honestly, we've really tried to focus on that because we need to have more of a regional focus in terms of what the people in Oklahoma, if we're going to come out and we're going to show out. Iowa has done a great job. Even after graduating a superstar in Caitlin Clark, they're still selling out. And so I'm proud of that, being from there. And at the same time, know that that's also going to challenge our fans to be able to show up as well. So I'm excited to be able to see just our sport on a national level and be highlighted here in the Lloyd Noble Center tomorrow, whether it's the 11 o'clock game or the 1:30 game.
Absolutely. I think from our experience last year, honestly, we saw how big and how much it impacted Indiana being able to play at home. And I think that kind of maybe gave them that push that they needed to get past that second round. And so, again, we're really excited. We took care of business during non-con and during conference this year to put us in a position where we could host. So I think we're really excited. And now I know that we can rely on our fans to be able to show up tomorrow. And I know that Jenny and our staff and everyone has done everything they can to try and get as many people here as possible. So, again, I do think it's a big deal, and I think it is something that matters when it comes to getting past that second round.
Yeah. Kind of go off of that, our coaching staff, our supporting staff, kind of echoing that, have done a phenomenal job of promoting this. It's not every day you get to host March Madness, and it's really, really a cool and unique opportunity that we have. So our staff has just done a phenomenal job of getting that out there and getting as many people out here as possible, because as Peyton said, it's truly an advantage. We felt it when we were at South Carolina in the SEC tournament. It felt like a home game in that third game for them. So to have that environment that you get to go and play in is super, super fun. And not only that, Peyton said it, we've worked really hard to put us in good positions to be able to host. And so we're just excited to put on another show for you tomorrow. Oh, this is why we do it. This is why we play. We want you guys to come. We want you to have fun. And so be there Saturday.
Reagan Beers talking to the media on Friday afternoon, and you dropped the story about the Beers family and talked to her father going into this weekend. It's kind of fun to see how far she can take this team. She's been incredible. I knew that she was pretty good coming in from Oregon State. I don't think that I realized how dominant she is inside for them. And
she might be the best post player in the country.
Crazy.
The way she plays sometimes, she's that dominant. And, a year ago, she led Oregon State to the Elite Eight.
Sure.
So she certainly could put on a performance where all of a sudden she's carrying Oklahoma to Sweet 16, and then we'll see what happens.
Jenny Baranczyk and the OU women in action on Saturday at 1:30. They deserve the Lloyd Noble Center to be packed. It should be a pretty cool atmosphere over there. Across the street would be baseball as well. So Friday night, OU basketball, the men's side in Raleigh, North Carolina, taking on two-time defending national champion UConn. I almost said North Carolina for some reason. I got them on the brain. They're getting beat right now, getting their ass beat. ACC sucks. All right. Big questions in terms of Sam Godwin. We'll get to him in a second. But Porter Moser did talk to the media. You could catch all of Bob Przybylo's stories on SoonerScoop.com. We're kind of wrapping everything up into what will be a late tip-off on Friday night over in, it's late here, obviously, at 8:30. It's going to be 9:30 out there. Yep. Damn near when they tip off. But expectation-wise, what are you thinking tonight?
Keep it close. Yeah. Stay in the game. I think a lot of people are counting Oklahoma out just because you look at the name UConn and obviously the success they've had the last 2 years and the talent they have. Look, they're going to be the more talented team than Oklahoma, but the way OU's played lately, I think that they can hang around. And if you can keep it close, you never know what's going to happen in this tournament. You got to make some big shots. I think you've brought up the stat a million times, but UConn's not a great defensive team in terms of guarding the three. So if Oklahoma can get a Bryson Goodine to knock down some shots, Duke Miles, Jeremiah Fears, obviously, Jalen Moore, if those guys can hit down some big threes early, I like Oklahoma's chances to be in this game close.
It's going to need to be Jeremiah Fears plus maybe a couple more, not even maybe, plus a couple more if Oklahoma wants to put themselves into position to win. One thing that UConn does do, they score the basketball at an extremely high rate, where it tops the Big East as well as the country this year. Solo Ball, I think he's like top 5 in the country in three-point shooting. So just don't let Solo Ball beat you. And I think that maybe you'll be okay with everybody else, but still a tremendously tough task. Oklahoma, to get to the NCAA tournament, obviously had to kind of put it together at the end of the season. Porter Moser on Thursday talked to the media out in Raleigh about not just being happy to be there. They have a little bit more fun to do while in the NCAA tournament.
I mean, this tournament, there's nothing like it. And the thing you look forward to is, I mean, you work all summer, everything, to be on the stage to where it's win in advance. So what we're looking forward to is to competing to get a win, and one at a time. But I think that's, the guys are really, especially like guys like Sam and Jalen, who just got gut punched a year ago when we felt we were in, and then there was 5 bid steals. But for us to get in, and I think what was been evident the last 4 days of practice is they're just not happy to just be here. Like, this was, obviously we knew it's the first step was getting in, and now I think they're really looking forward to competing.
In the tournament, there are some positive vibes. We've talked about the Villanova stuff with Bob Brisbillo. We talked about it on the Unofficial 40 this week. Complete breakdown if you want to check that out before the game on Friday night. Also talked about the women and their start on Saturday. But for Oklahoma to have any type of chance, I just don't know what the realistic option is going to be when it comes to Sam Godwin, still nursing the knee injury from the March 5th injury against Missouri.
Yeah, and he's somebody that I don't know if he helps you get over that hump of beating a UConn, but he certainly, it wouldn't hurt to have him for a few minutes,
sure,
especially with some of the size,
just to take some load off of Big Mo.
And because, Mo's had issues getting in foul trouble. And, odds are at some point tonight, he's probably going to be in a little bit of foul trouble, and you wish you had Sam Godwin.
No doubt about it. Porter did give an update when Bob Brisbillo asked him on Thursday. It's going to be a game-time decision, most likely, but here was the answer as of yesterday.
Sam has done absolutely everything you can do to get back. I mean, I think he's, almost probably 3 days. He's right there. He did some stuff with the team today, and it's going to be hard for him. We'll see. We kind of started out saying, hey, 10 minutes if you give us a lift. But it's just, you don't want to put him in a position. And I know for Sam, he's like, well, this is it for me. I can't say how much, I can't tell you how hard he's gone after it these last 2 weeks. And it's a sprained MCL, so it's an injury that takes a little bit of time. But we'll see. He did some stuff this morning. It's going to be hard for him to go tomorrow night. But I know if we're going to wait and see how he does shooting around, and also tomorrow in our walkthrough.
Certainly will be something that will be updated on Friday evening as Bob Brisbillo arrives over at the arena, and then we'll see. If nothing else, feel good for him, feel good for Jalen Moore getting to the NCAA tournament. Bob wrote about that. You can check that out on SoonerScoop.com. All right, this is around the quarter. Let's get to some of the questions, but before we do that, you got the ball there, George. The 2025 official OU Jordan Fly Elite football that has now dropped. Got the Jordan brand logo right there in the center of the football for the first time, and it's a special thank you to our good friends over at BigGameUSA.com. And if you're so interested in getting the football that George has in his hands, as you see out there on the screen with the red laces, BigGameUSA.com/Sooners, and you can get the official OU football for this season. Jordan Brand signature innovation, performance, and swagger that are now hitting the field, even though it wasn't out this week. But we did see some of John Mateer throwing the football over the weekend, or I guess over the course of the week. Everybody's out on spring break. Can you tell? We're not in it. Pretty cool, though. Thank you to our good friends over at Big Game Football Factory, BigGameUSA.com/Sooners if you're looking to get one of yours today. All right, let's get into all the questions that are on the Crimson Quarter. Obviously, Oklahoma's largest online community. And the first question out of the gate, we'll get back into the Sam Godwin mix with the OU basketball team. From Android 3011, talking about Sam Godwin, if he's going to be able to play, if he could just give them a few solid minutes, that'd be a win. That's kind of what you were insinuating, George. And then we go to JJF Portal Jag, just a guy, I believe. I'd love to see him get to play, but he shouldn't be out there unless he's going to be serviceable. Can't afford to be playing 4-on-5. Wagi, At some point, he's going to be gone long term after, and I'm going to finally be able to pronounce his name. Wiggy has shown he's up to the challenge. Yes and no. I mean, I think that there is some moments where you're going to need to give him a little bit of a break, and with all the guys that they have inside, whether it be Terrace Reed or Solomon Johnson, they need somebody out there, maybe not that is a Luke Northweather.
That's my thing is, and maybe it's a, end of half situation or end of the game situation that you need a rebound.
Sure.
Like, let's say OU's up a couple points and they're going to be shooting free throws or something. I would want Sam Godwin in the game to get a rebound
or if you
something.
Put him in at you have those media timeouts at 16, 12, 8, and 4. Put him in 20 seconds before that media timeout in a perfect world, and then you could give Wiggy a blow and be okay. Put him back in after the timeout. So
I understand their point, though, saying that, if he's not serviceable, like if he's not able to give you at least like 75%,
100%,
it's tough to play him, especially against a team that's as athletic as UConn. So I don't know. I mean, at the same time, I also get like Sam Godwin. This is it for him, right? So you'd like to play him, and maybe if he can just give you a few minutes, I think it would be worth it.
And maybe just being out there, and I don't know. Maybe it's like a super cliche like talking point that would never happen, but maybe just his presence out there alone would be able to
clearly
lift everybody
up
a little bit. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, we'll get into some football stuff now. Spring football obviously underway. Talking Deion Burks from Toxic Masculinity. What a great name. I don't know how good Burks looked before he got hurt. He was often targeted, but averaged only 7.9 yards per reception. I'd say the results before injury were mixed, but he has a lot of ability, and I'm optimistic he will thrive with the coaching and QB change. I would probably disagree with this wholeheartedly. I thought he was pretty damn good in the Tipple game.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
He had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, and in the Houston game, I want to say he had some big catches for some first downs, and obviously that was kind of a slog of a game. But I think that this guy's potential's through the roof. We just haven't been able to see it really because of what transpired last year with the offense and just how bad they were. And I just feel like Ben Arbuckle is somebody that can get him open in space.
I want to see him and Giovanni Gibson next to each other. Sooners for Life 27, everyone bringing up Burks' mid stats before injury last year. Forget the entire offense was mid. He was the only bright spot at the time. I'm not saying he will be the star that some say, but I do think new OC and much better QB could make a world of difference. I would pound the retweet button.
Yeah, look, I think that, discounting what Deion Burks can do would not be wise. I think he's going to be a huge part of this offense. I think part of the reason people are bringing this up, because the reason that was on there is my whole mailbag. It felt like every question was about is Deion Burks actually any good? Is he going to be okay? Because he, turned his ankle a little bit in spring practice. They're holding him out because they know what they have in him, and they want to be precautionary with him, and they want to make sure he's on the field next season. So I understand some of the concern, but don't forget about how good he was in that Temple game, but also how good he was at Purdue, who wasn't any good a year ago. I mean, he had like 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. I think if he's healthy, he's going to have a really good year in this offense.
Could be a nice little 1-2 punch because they're a little bit different wide receivers.
Well, Burks is going to play in the slot.
Sure.
Gibson will play outside. So, obviously Gibson's much bigger than Burks, but Burks is much faster than Gibson. So I think it could be a really good duo if both those guys can be on the field at the same time.
It's going to be a tough choice for the Blitnikoff committee to pick between the 2 Oklahoma wide receivers next season. All right, it won't happen, though, if Oklahoma's not better on the offensive line, right?
Yeah.
That has been a big discussion point through last season, and it's going to be a big discussion point for what? The next 6 months before we get underway for the 2025 football season, but specifically talking about Bill Beatenbow from Beezer. BB has been the biggest problem since BB got here. He should have been held accountable. He's got 1 year to fix it. George?
Yeah, I just did. I mean, I don't know. I say I disagree. There was also times last year I'm like, I think they might need to move on from Bill Beatenbow.
Sure.
So I understand where they're coming from. But you look at the obviously the class they brought in, recruiting class, it's the best under Bill Beatenbow. You hear some of the things you're hearing about Michael Fasusi
Even
and Ryan
during
Fojay.
a week when they're not practicing,
Yeah,
you get
the buzz.
You hear buzz about Michael Fasusi and Ryan Fojay.
Exactly. And so I think that you have to continue to allow Bill Beatenbow to, develop these guys because they could turn into some of the best offensive linemen Oklahoma's had in a while. So I disagree now that you see kind of the depth and the talent that they have in that room. And, Bill's past, if anything, on this coaching staff is probably better than anybody's as an assistant coach. Sure. I mean, his resume in terms of guys he's put in the league and the type of offensive lines Oklahoma's had, even going back just a couple years ago, was really good. So I understand it was really bad last year and maybe hasn't been great, in a few years, but I still think Bill Beatenbow deserves a job at OU.
One more slide to get through here on Bill Beatenbow from Braden Watkins. Simply being average next year would help us so much. Not only will improved line and QB play and less wide receiver injuries help, but I also imagine Arbuckle is the type of person who will be learning just as much from practice as some of the players are. I feel like every practice is a chance for Arbuckle to figure out what does and what doesn't work against a top SEC level defense. A good coordinator will always use that to their advantage, and I think it's going to be super exciting to see. Obviously, we haven't really talked to Ben Arbuckle yet, which it's March 21st, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, he came in the studio.
He did come in the studio. You can see that here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube page when he sat down with yourself and Joe Castiglione Jr. But at the same time, I am kind of interested to see, okay, you guys have been out on the practice field. What do you think of everything that you got right now?
Yeah, just his evaluation,
sure,
especially of that group up front, because to that poster's point, a great offensive coordinator will understand his weaknesses, and if he believes an offensive line is his weakness, he'll figure out some way to combat that or some way to cover that up. And I don't think the offensive line is going to be as bad as it was last year, and I know that's a low bar, but I do think that there'll probably be some periods where you can have some bumps and bruises, and you're going to have some obstacles in your way up front. You're going to face some really good defensive lines, but I think Ben Arbuckle's creativity, as well as marrying what he wants to do with the way that Bill Beatenbow, likes his run game and pass protections, they're very similar. Obviously, Arbuckle, we've talked a lot about coming from the air raid. Bill Beatenbow coached in the air raid forever. And so I think that it lines up pretty well, and I expect that group to be much improved this year.
Headed back over to the Nut House, and I say that, I guess, somewhat affectionately. We're talking about the Crimson Corner. Pete Nakos dropped some scoop on John Mateer earlier this week and proceeded to basically get blasted by the Crimson Corner in name calling. Thanks, Skeet Nakos. That's not a bad one. Moneyball, thank you, Sharknado. Thanks, Patrick Tacos, Donnie Hazelwood. Is that a reference to the what's the cartoon that was under the sea? SpongeBob. Missed that entire show, I think. Maybe I need to go back and watch it. George will need to give me some of his sativa. Crab Cola goes 7 out of 29 replies are remotely on topic. That's what you get with this community that is the Crimson Corner, George.
Yeah, this is like every post, like this one. The Mont has the best case, so Norman make that 7 out of 30.
Do you agree with that assessment?
The Mont?
Yeah.
It's
pretty good.
It's up there. I like Torchy's a lot,
yeah.
But I honestly haven't been to either one in a minute.
Well, because the weather's been so bad, but every once in a while, like
I
a
do
day
like
like
the
today, you drive by the Mont and the patio's packed, and I'm sure that it will be here over the course of the weekend with everybody in town. It's going to be.
I like the Mont's drinks more than its food. Its food's good, but I like obviously the swirl and things like that. But
had a couple buddies come up for the baseball game. I think it was one of the midweek games, and they were blown away that you can now get the Mont drink to go. The swirls, yeah.
You can get that to go?
Oh, yeah. The Radosevich family does that
to get one on the way
quite
home today.
often. Yeah. Well, you have to keep it closed or whatever
right.
when you get on the road. But I know that you really encourage drinking and driving. We do not on this program. All right. One more, I think, to get through there on the or is that it? I think that is it. I lost count. All right. We will continue on. One more to get through. Actually, we're done. I had 5 written down, and then I just never put anything in there, and then I got kind of nervous. This is a live program. What are we going to do about it? I am excited, though, for the rest of the weekend because it is busy around these parts. You're going to be over at the Lloyd Noble Center. Obviously, Oklahoma City, they play 1:30 against Florida Gulf Coast. They would play Monday, correct, if they were to win?
Yeah, and we don't know that time yet. I would assume sometime in the afternoon or early evening is my guess.
We'll extend the spring break for the students for one day. Let them go over to the LNC, excused absence. Nobody goes to class on Monday coming back from spring break anyways. And hopefully we'll be talking about Bob Perzbello headed out to San Francisco for the Sweet 16. What would be crazier, the fact that they won 2 games in the NCAA tournament, or the fact that they probably would have to knock off UConn and Florida, the last two teams that won back-to-back titles in the NCAA tournament.
If they win tonight, massive success of a season.
100%.
Just a huge,
100%.
congrats to them if they were to win tonight. If they are to win tonight and then turn around and beat Florida, who I think is maybe the favorite to win it right now.
Right.
Seems like everybody's picking Florida. Porter Moser probably will be offered the Villanova job.
Why stop at Villanova? Let's talk about the Chicago Bulls. He'll just take over for Billy Donovan. That would be incredible. All right, that's going to do it for this week's Around the Quarter. Plenty to get into next week, too. Have some announcements coming up on the running back position. Obviously, Jonathan Hatton, I believe, is making his announcement on Saturday, so possibly we'll have something to wrap up there, as well as Caden Jones making his announcement on Wednesday, this next Wednesday, up at Jinx High School. For George Stoya, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll talk to you next time here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.